If you have a small business and you have trouble dealing with your finances and you would like to support another small business besides Just Unspoiled, you should go to m3virtualaccounting.com and set up an appointment with Molly Morris to see what she can do for you regarding your finances and your books. She will be able to walk you through exactly what she can do for you and find out if there's anything special that you are looking for. m3virtualaccounting.com. Get in touch with Molly today.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, a song of ice and fire to the co-host Switcheroo, the rereading Return to Westeros HBO spoiler edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV. Bringing you the greatest hits of our own podcast. This is one of them. You're welcome. In this episode covering A Dance with Dragons, we are covering chapters 52 and 53, Daenerys and Jon. In one chapter, we've got a person in an authoritative position who just decides to fucking bounce, which I can't be mad at this point, honestly. And then we have another one where everybody is like, would you please just fucking bounce? And he says, no. Sorry. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now, kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn. Y'all, like in the last episode, I just kept talking about how, like, I don't know, I feel like she's like so close to just being like, fuck it, flying away on that fucking dragon, if that's the thing that's going to happen in the book. Because I really wasn't sure. Like, I was, alright, I think I'm on record as saying this out loud, that I was pretty confident that was a show invention because it seemed so fucking bananas that I was like, that's some D&D shit. They did that. There's no way George did that. And yes, he did. He did it. Soon as the chapter opened, it was so clear to me. Like, she's so just over it. I said, this bitch about to fly off on a dragon. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but she is done. She is just done with the deals she has made, the compromises she has made. She is just feeling like, I made a terrible mistake and I don't know what to do to get out of it, but this is not what I wanted. And it just builds and builds and builds, and then there's a fucking shadow over the whole arena, and I said, here we go.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, this entire thing is like, it's such a relief. That's my main feeling, is just everything with her has been so difficult and unpleasant and frustrating. And now you get to this point and it's like, oh, thank God. Yeah, just leave. Just go at this point, you know?
I mean, but like, yes, but also all I can think about is like, but what about everybody who just left? Like, what about Miss Sandy? What about the Dothraki girls, whose names I should know by now, but Eerie and Jiki. I think Jiki. Like, you just left them holding the bag. So I'm really curious if we get more Daenerys chapters. I feel like I want to say we have to, because we still have Jorah and Tyrion in the fighting pit. But so I didn't expect her to fly away off of her dragon before she sees that Jorah is in the pit. But that's because I'm pretty sure that's how it happened on the show. Jorah comes out and she sees him fighting. And and he's there when she leaves.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't expect it. I didn't expect her to fly away as quickly as she does here. So I'm wondering. I'm like, we got to have another chapter of a Daenerys. But I mean, who is to fucking say, right? Who is to say? Like, where does she go? Because the question is like, and I can't remember. I feel like, maybe, like, remember we were having a conversation because I had this blind spot after Theon and Sansa jump in the snow on the show of like what happens next.
Yes.
And, I think somebody answered me that that was the season finale. And so it does just kind of cut to black.
Okay.
So now I'm wondering when Daenerys flies off on her dragon, because I can't remember like where she actually lands. Like she gets on it and flies away. I have no memory of where they fucking touch ground. So I'm like, well, maybe that was another finale. I really don't remember. But for the book, she's got to land somewhere. And I can't imagine, like, this can't be the last Daenerys chapter is my long-winded way of saying this can't be the last one. So I'm really curious because I have so little memory from the show. I'm very, very curious, like, where does she touch ground? How do we find out that Jorah and both Tyrion and Jorah are in the fighting pits? There was a whole thing here too when they were going to have the folly, and I thought that was going to be, and it might have been like one of the people in the folly is like riding a sow, and I think somebody else is riding a dog, and there's a mention of like one of them has a Lannister shield and one has a Baratheon shield. Mm-hmm. But that is such common knowledge throughout the land that it doesn't necessarily mean that was Tyrion and fucking, help me.
I mean,
Penny.
Doesn't it?
Like I felt foolish assuming that it was definitely them. I was like, I'm jumping to wild conclusions. But
I mean, the ending of their last chapter together is being told that they're going to perform in the pit for the queen.
All right, so it's them then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just felt like I was like falling for like a ruse, right? Like, oh, I want you to think it's them so we can turn around and be like, ha, gotcha. It wasn't them at all. And it was a red herring. That's what a red herring is, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Red herring, usually it's like, yeah, I'm going to direct it so that you think a thing.
And then turn around and it's not that thing at all. So I'm like so paranoid of falling for a fucking trick that I'm always just like, that can't be what it is. It's got to be something else.
No, I think that's like the point is for us to know them well enough that when we find out they're about to just release fucking lions into the ring with them, we're personally concerned.
Okay. I was too.
You know?
I was personally concerned. Like I was reading this and I was like, oh shit, that's Tyrion and Penny. But then after reading, I was like, that's when the doubts come. And I'm like, girl, you fell for that whole fucking okie doke. You should know better. And then I started second guessing everything that I just read. George Martin has made it so that I can't trust anyone in the world. Well, it's all George's fault that I can't trust anyone. Really.
It is though. You got nobody to blame but yourself, Georgia boy. It's on you. All right. So yeah, let's start from the beginning here. Daenerys is coming to we don't open there. We open with her traveling there, and
we open with her getting dressed. Like
yes,
yeah, like
true.
like her the beginning of her day. It starts with like this like ominous feeling as she's getting dressed. She's already dreading what she's about to do for this whole day from the jump. This moment
where it just feels like this is a real low point to me for Daenerys. Where she says, help me get dressed. Half of Mereen will be there to see me. And Miss Sandy says, this one begs leave to say half of Mereen will be there to watch men bleed and die. She is not wrong, the queen knew, but it makes no matter. And I was just like, the fact that you're just like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. girl, what has happened to you? It just feels so sad to me.
When
Just
she's
being
getting
like,
dressed,
yep, true. Oh, well. Oof.
there's a moment where she tells the girls as they're dressing her and she's picking out her outfit, and she picks like this one tokar to wear, and then she asks for something else, and she says she wants to wear the yellow silk. The queen of rabbits could not be seen without her floppy ears. And then she asks for red veils, and she says out loud, she says, and over the long red veil, and it says, the veil keep the wind from blowing sand in her face. But then it also says, and the red will hide any blood spatters. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is not a day she is looking forward to at all. And then you're right, the moment she has with Miss Sandy and being like, it doesn't even matter, it doesn't change anything. She's just like defeated in a way that is like on a soul level, you know. I'm not just defeated politically or in battle, but like she's been forced to betray herself, and she's really sitting with it now, and she's finding that she cannot live with it the way she thought she could. I think she really thought that she could manage these compromises and these betrayals and intellectualize them and make it make sense, and that she would be able to live with herself. And she is realizing that she can't. Like, I can't live with these choices I have made. But how do I get out of it? I don't see a way out. I am trapped. I have let these people trap me into some shit that I don't agree with, that I don't want to do or I don't want to be doing. And I definitely don't want to be the face of it and co-signing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the difference in how she feels when she is forced to be in the audience, like participating in the thing, and just how different it hits. Like, it's bad enough when she can just hear what she has agreed to. She hates even the sound of it, but she can still bear it. And then when she's actually there, it just overwhelms her. And that feels like that's how it would work. Yeah, agreed. There's a little sub thing that happens that's very, very quick, and I'm sure it's one of those things that like I'm supposed to have like remembered and really captured. And I got like a spattering of memory, but Selmy does tell her a little bit of. Didn't care for that. Sorry, the spattering of memory. I just don't. No, I don't like that. Sorry. I don't know why.
I think I was going for like smattering, but that's also not really a word. But
no, smattering's a word. That one, I think that one probably works better. Really, spattering, I just hear that and think diarrhea immediately. So.
Oh no, that's not what I wanted anybody to think, including myself.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it. I know how you are about that.
You guys know how squeamish I am about that sort of stuff. I cannot.
RoShawn does not enjoy toilet humor at all.
You guys, I cannot. I can tolerate so much, and then there are certain like really dopey things that should not impact me whatsoever that just send me into a full body shiver. I cannot with it. And for some reason, bathroom humor is just one of those things for me where I'm just like, no, take it back.
I get that. I remember going to see the second Austin Powers movie and all the fat bastard jokes, and I just wanted to die. Remember the like drinking of the. Yeah, well, we won't get into it.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, yeah. So Selmy delivers a message to her from Maris, and it is that the tattered prince meant to bring the windblown over to you from the beginning, and that he sent her here to treat with you secretly, but then the Dornishmen amassed themselves and betrayed them before she could make her approach. And Daenerys is just like, fucking betrayal after treachery after double cross. It never fucking ends. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And she agrees to pay their price to come over. And it's because Mereen needs iron, not gold. And Selmy is like, they're going to want more than gold. They want Pentos. And that puts her in a real bind. She's like, well, Pentos, like, I can't give them that.
All my guys are in Pentos.
Right? Like, first of all, it's not really close by. It's a little bit further away than I can really get my hands on. And Maris says that the Tattered Prince is willing to wait until she makes her march for Westeros to get Pentos. And then that's when she starts thinking about, like, yeah, but my homies are there. Like, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to
the man who gave me the fucking dragon eggs.
Yeah.
You know, like, I owe everything to him. So that's not going to work.
Yeah. So she ends up having to say no to that deal. And it just ends with Selmy being like, your grace is wise. Which, you know what, is really what we all want to hear when we make a decision. We want somebody to just be like, yes, your grace is wise.
Like, so glad that you can just know that about me. Because yes, I am.
And thank you for saying it out loud.
Exactly.
So then we have,
but yeah, I was just kind of, she has a moment here where she's like, and what if I never march for Westeros? And I was just like, don't even say that. Don't even say it. Don't. Ugh.
I mean, it's got to be feeling to her like that shit is never going to happen, right? It's got to. Yeah. She was so like determined and insistent for so long that that's where I need to be. I need to be heading towards Westeros, like, you know, that's in goal, that's in game. And then this Mereen situation, man, this shit really got her fucking twisted up in a quandary, in a quagmire, in a, what's another good Q word? Is there a third one? Might not be a third one.
I can't think of another one.
But yeah, it just got her really hemmed up in this situation that she just could not extricate herself from. A corfuffle.
Let's give it a shot. Didn't work.
I appreciate the effort.
I don't regret it.
I'm here for the effort. I'm always here for the effort.
But yeah, so he also is like, let's get some more people guarding you, man, because we've got only these brazen beasts, and I don't like them. Anybody could be behind these masks. You have an owl with you, and you're like, oh, it's the owl again. You don't know it's the owl again. It could just be some other guy in the owl mask, and we don't know what's happening.
And she's like thinking about all the important shit.
Agreed. Like, I just, yeah, yes. And she says, how is anybody supposed to trust the brazen beasts if I don't? To which I'm like, who cares? You need to not be killed. I don't care about everybody trusting them. That is so second. It's not even second. It's like distant fifth of concerns for me. You are surrounding yourself with enemies. What are you doing? It feels like she's actually got a bit of a death wish at this point. There's almost like, if they kill me, oh well.
Yeah. And that's what I mean when I talk about, like, she feels defeated on a soul level. Like, she is like spiritually in her being, like, has given up. Like, I failed, you know, I that's why you have that. And if I never marched for Westeros moment, you know, she just feels like done. Like, what is it to care about anymore? Which I think, I don't know, I could be putting too much into it, but when we go ahead a little bit and she is watching the fights, and then it gets to a moment where she is so disgusted she can't even take it anymore and she wants to leave. Like, she's asking to be escorted away. Because again, she has signed up to do something she thought she could pull off. She thought she could stomach it, you know, and it's pushing herself to do that. And she can't, you know, she's watching, even the first couple of fights, you know, are terrible, and she can't believe what she's watching. There's a moment where a young man is killed and she's like, wait, no, there were not supposed to be any children. And the king is like, well, no, he was 16, so it's fine. She is just, it's so clearly uncomfortable, and that this whole thing goes against her in like a moral sense. You know, this is chafing up against her morality, and in a way that I don't think she was expecting to feel. And she gets like literally overwhelmed by it. And is about to just leave, and then he's all like, "You can't leave. Look how much everybody loves you. They want to see you, sitting here enjoying it." Like, it's not enough for her to say, "Okay, you can have the pits open." She's got to, not enough for her just to be there. She's got to be like actively engaged and pretending that she is enjoying this as much as they are. Like this show that she has to put on.
Yeah.
And she's not built for this. And I think we all already knew that, right? We already knew this about her.
Definitely.
She misjudged herself. She discounted. This is going to sound so fucking goofy, and I apologize, y'all. Oh. But it's like she forgot she was the dragon. Like she really thought
100%.
Right? Like she really thought she could just eat all of this shit and pretend, and that she was like built that way to play these type of games. And she's not. That's not who she is. She's a different kind of person, for good or for bad. She's just a different type of person. I guess that's why it takes her dragon coming back, like literally her dragon having to come back and remind her of like who the fuck she is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the entire metaphor of this whole arc is just her trying to deny what she knows is right and good in her heart, facing that what she thinks is right and good isn't as easy to pull off as she has seemed to think. But also, if you compromise, you can't live with it. Mm-hmm. And like, so what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us have this struggle of, we have our ideals and we grow older and we realize that like what we had hoped could be can't be, or it could be if everybody was on board, but they are not. And so then you have to be like, what am I willing to accept?
Yep.
Where's my line where I'm just like, okay, no.
Yeah, agreed. And that's a really uncomfortable place for all of us to be in when we have that moment of reckoning of like, how much compromise can I do and still maintain that I am who I say I am. I am who I say I want to be before I become a different person by how much I've compromised. And it is a sliding scale, and it's different for all of us, and it changes daily for some of us.
Yep.
I just think that this is just a really good illustration of what it can be like when you have finally hit that wall and you're just like, I can't do it. Even if I don't have answers for what I should be doing next, or what I'm doing next, or where I'm even going next, I know that this thing that's happening right now, this ain't it. Can't do this. I might not know what I'm going to do next, but I know I can't do this. And that's like a scary thing, because it requires you to sort of like leap into the unknown, because
yes,
you know that you just are not okay with where you are. So you have to make a jump for something different, but you don't know what it is you're jumping into or where you're jumping. Yeah.
And I will say this for Daenerys, because like you guys know, I have been very short-tempered with her chapters the past couple of months. However, I will say this, that there are different types of people, and there are the types that would cave once they realized they couldn't do what they wanted and allow this to take place, but they would not go. Because they didn't want to see what they had wrought, for lack of a better way to say that. And I do appreciate, as much as I understand, that this is also genuinely like an expectation. She has to, because she's the queen. But there are plenty of people who would find a way to just not. Yeah. And the fact that she makes herself, I think at least shows that there is something alive and kicking left in a way that I'm not sure it's like intentional, but she puts herself in a position where she can't turn away from it. And it's almost like subconsciously something in her is just like, fine, then look at it.
Yeah.
You know,
go look at what you did. You know, you were okay to do it. You said you could compromise. You said that you could live with it. All right, let's go live with it then.
Yep.
Let's see what it's like to go live with it. You know, the frustration with Daenerys over these chapters has been, you know, so intense. And I remember, you know, at the beginning of this arc when she's, you know, first coming into these cities and she's freeing the slaves, and just like how like 100% about it I was and remain. But like, the minute she decided to chain her dragons, it went downhill. And I know that she didn't want to be a tyrant, right? She didn't want to be leading with fear of dragons that just destroy everybody who goes against her. But I maintain that was the way to go. Yep. like you come in and you burn. I know this doesn't make her like a good, like she could not have remained, I guess, a good person, quotes, if she had done that, but she would have accomplished her goal, I think, in a real way. Like, you know, if she had come with a real significant show of force and shut all of that shit down the minute the harpy shit started, you know? But you know, she didn't want to be another bloodthirsty Targaryen who terrorizes people with dragons. You know, she was actively trying to find a different way to be a ruler. And it's a good sort of exploration of when you are in the throes of change, sometimes you have to be a tyrant. In a way.
And honestly, if you're gonna fucking have a monarchy, like, you gotta just kind of come to terms with that. That's like part of the deal. This isn't a democracy. Right, so either you want a democracy or you don't. Like,
yes, exactly. Like, you want to be queen, you want to rule, you know, and you want your word to be law and no one to object to you or defy you because you are, you know, the queen. Then you've already taken some of the agency away from the people that are under you, because you are ruling them. You're not representing them. You're ruling them. So, you know, but she wasn't comfortable in that role as I think she assumed she was going to be, you know. And then she makes a series of questionable decisions and ends up in this situation. This trip to the pits as they are traveling through town, there's a moment.
It is so tense.
It's so, listen, when that cart flipped over and somebody was like, this could be a trap, I was like, it could be a trap.
I was so paranoid about it. I was genuinely shocked that nothing happened with this. Like, same. I was fully expecting. 100%. Yeah.
100%. I was too. But it turned out just to be like legit somebody overcome with heat exhaustion. And there is a moment that I really appreciated, even though it seemed like small potatoes in light of the much larger story. But this man collapses from heat that's carrying one of the litters that's in front of them. And there's a moment where Daenerys says, you know, they need to go help him. And she says that, well, Hisdar says, why should they seek to harm my queen when she has taken me for her king and consort? Now help that man as my sweet queen has commanded. And they go over and they help the guy and they get him like off the street and get him like some water or whatever else, you know. And Dany says out loud, these bearers were slaves before I came. I made them free, yet the palanquin is no lighter. And that's a really, like, that's a bar. That's a bar. And Hisdar says back, okay, that's true, but these men are being paid to bear the weight now. And also, before you came, the man that fell would have had an overseer whipping the skin off of his back, but instead he is being given aid. And that's one of those, like, and his arc goes on to say, like, small steps, small steps towards progress. And that just really hit for me, because of the moment that we are in the real world, like the political moment that we're in. And also, what's happening because of this moment that we're in is that there's a lot of discussion happening around protesting, the genocide in Gaza and the encampments that are springing up along college campuses, and some of the rhetoric that you were hearing being directed towards the protesters. And one of the things that people keep talking about is how we get placated by this idea that progress is actually really, really slow, and you can only go one step at a time. You can't ask for too much, and yeah, things are still terrible, but look at this one thing that's like a little bit different now than it would have been before. And that should be like enough to appease you, right? There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with like recognizing that progress is like a series of steps in a direction. But the idea that recognizing that you've made a small gain should then satisfy you so that you don't question or ask for more, and he's kind of hitting her with that. Like it's like his point isn't wrong. He's not lying. He's not just making up something. He's right. It is different. But he's also saying it in a way that's very much like, but don't be too greedy. Don't be expecting too much. Be happy with the little that you have accomplished. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it felt like very, not prescient, but because that means like ahead
relevant.
Of time. Relevant. We'll go with relevant. Mm-hmm.
Trenchant. I want to mention before we get into the actual battling and whatnot. Austin's Info Corner. Woo! I really do need, I think I mentioned way back that I asked Austin what kind of like sound effect he would want. And he said like a crow cawing or something. And then I just kept doing the woo and ignored him. And I am going to download a crow caw. I promise, dude. I'm going to do it. But anyway, I love has shared some. I think it's perfect. It's a really good choice.
Yeah. It is.
But he says, just realized we're almost done with this book and I haven't talked about the differences between real world gladiators and the fighters in Song of Ice and Fire / pop culture. 1, gladiators weren't always slaves, criminals, or prisoners of war. Some were free men who did it for money and fame. Which there is, I think the 16-year-old, it's mentioned that he like volunteered to be here.
Yeah.
And the next one is gladiators could become quite rich from winnings and were comparable in some ways to pro athletes, considered celebrities and sex symbols. 3, gladiators didn't always fight to the death. Training them was expensive, so there were referees that would end fights if one was seriously injured. Note, this was not extended to gladiators who were prisoners of war or criminals. 4, gladiators had unions that paid them stipends if they were too injured to fight anymore, or if they died in a fight, to pay their widows and or orphans.
Oh, wow.
And 5, female gladiators called gladiatrixes, I love it, existed, but they were less common and considered more of a novelty act.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I did think that was interesting. Yeah, thank you very much. Caw. I really like the idea that gladiators were sex symbols too. There's a point in the Gladiator film with Russell Crowe where the queen comes to see him and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's just like, some highborn ladies like to take advantage of gladiators for a little bit of a good time. And I remember at the time being like, really? And now I'm like, oh yeah, I could see that. Just being like, ooh, look at him. Get me an appointment. My responses to Tormund Giantsbane in the TV show, I'm just like, yeah, no, I could see watching somebody fight and just being like, I would like some of that. Yes. Anyway, okay, so the actual arrival here, the fucking drum. I'm listening to the audiobook, you guys, and when they're calling like Way, the voice that he puts on while trying to do the boom boom in between, there is something about it that is so funny. They gotta re-record these, man. It's time. Make way, boom, the queen, boom, the king, boom. So eventually they arrive. Their box is loaded with snacks and drinks, and fucking Belwas is so excited that there are locusts.
He eats enough to make himself
with delight.
Sick. I was like, are these things poison, or he just really ate too many? What happened here?
I don't know. I mean, it could be poison. The thing that's sort of interesting is like, if something in there were poisoned, I would expect it to be a thing that like was particularly Dany's favorite.
Sure.
And I, as far as I know, don't think she's ever eaten locusts.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're really poison. I just was like,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, the locusts, like, I honestly could see liking them the way that they're prepared here, rolled in honey and spices. Like, that actually sounds like it could be kind of good if you can ignore.
I mean, it sounds like a good crunchy snack. It's like a honey roasted peanut.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly. I should try making like homemade spicy honey roasted peanuts. I bet that would be fire. Oh man, hold on. I'm looking this up real quick. Homemade spicy honey roasted peanuts. I was obsessed with honey roasted peanuts when I was younger. They were like my favorite snack. Those in a big can of Arizona iced tea.
They're still one of my favorite
salty
snacks.
Together.
Still one of my favorites. We used to roast peanuts at home, and we used to boil peanuts at home. I love boiled peanuts. I don't think I've ever
had a boiled peanut.
I love them so much, and they're like, I haven't seen them for sale anywhere like up here. You used to be able to just like buy like in the South, like if you go to like a fair or something, you can just buy like a bag of boiled peanuts. But we used to make them at home, and oh, they're so good. I want some now, and I'm thinking about it. But and then roasting,
literally,
and roasting peanuts, like because when I live with my grandma, my family is peanut farmers, among other things. So it was
that's right. You told me that. Yes.
Yeah. So we always had like just an endless supply of like raw peanuts. So you would bring them home and you roast them or boil them or however you're gonna make them. So good. Very, very good. Fresh peanuts.
I found a recipe and like the picture of them looks so good. Yes.
You gonna make some?
I think so. This looks like it'd be actually really, really easy, but also the kind of thing that like you could easily overdo it and wind up making yourself sick. Be a Belwas in this situation, but it's just honey, sugar, salt, and cayenne pepper for this one. I'm sorry, but you need a little more than that. I'd put garlic. I'd put maybe a little bit of onion powder even, and more than just like the spiciness of pepper. I'd probably want something like maybe some thyme or rosemary rosemary would be too strong. Something though, something more than just sweet and spice. I would want a savory element in there with the sweet. Maybe you could do like a cinnamon.
Oh, interesting.
Be like that spicy cinnamon. Yeah, that kind of could be good. Look at that. Anyway.
Notes for later.
Yeah. Or mustard.
Oh, I bet that would be good.
That'd be good.
Yes, yeah. I bet that'd be, because there's there's a like a honey mustard pretzel that you can buy. Those pretzel bites.
There you go. Yes.
I forget who makes them, but oh my God, those things are so good too. You know what, you guys, I only had like 2 little mini donuts for breakfast, so my apologies. A bitch is actually very hungry. I didn't realize how hungry I was until just now.
But anyway, so enough about these locusts. We're getting ourselves hungry over talk of locusts. We gotta be hungry. And when he starts eating them, and he's like, they're sweet and hot once. That explains the way Belwas is sweating, Dany said. I believe I will content myself with figs and dates. So then we have the introduction of everybody. Let Queen Daenerys hear your love. And they call out mother. And she says, I am not your mother. I am the mother of your slaves, of every boy who ever died upon these sands whilst you gorged on honeyed locusts. Behind her, Resnack leaned in to whisper in her ear, Magnificence, hear how they love you. No, she knew. They love their mortal art. Mm-hmm. And she calls for some sweet water here. I love how every time anybody compliments a fighter, Belwas is like, I'm a better fighter. They didn't die well. I would have died.
I was cracking the fuck up with his commentary. I really was.
I could not get enough of it. I genuinely found it so delightful. What this guy also it's such a shame they did not have him on the show. I don't know why they missed that opportunity, but it's
a real shame. He is so fucking funny and just really adds something to everything he's in. He's just like, maybe it was too much comedy because I don't like. Maybe they were just, you know what I mean though? Like they're like, no, we're trying to have a serious show here, and he's just back here talking about, that death was terrible. Boo, boo, 0 stars. I also enjoyed. There's a moment, and it might have been earlier, but Jerry and Jeekwe have been sort of arguing, but like very playful, like they're arguing over your favorite sports team, right? About they each have a different fighter they think is going to be the winner of the day. And there's a moment that has Dany reflecting on how, as Dothraki, life and death are so closely intertwined. The relationship is so different. And because like Dany is not excited about this day at the fighting pits, and low-key would prefer if her handmaids were also as distraught as she is about the whole endeavor. But they're not. They're not thinking that this is immoral, that this is wrong, that this is like shouldn't be happening. Because culturally for them, you know, there is glory in fighting and glory in a good death. And, you know, they don't see anything wrong with that in the same way that like Daenerys does. And I just thought that was a really, really interesting thing to include, that sort of contrast. And it was just because it can be that way, right? Like clearly the people here in Mereen culturally don't see anything wrong with these fighting pits, even freed people, because there's a mention of like where everybody is sitting, and like the elite people have like these very nice fancy boxes, and then there's like the next class of people sit here, and then the lower class people are like have the nosebleed seats. But it's a mention that it's a mix of people. Like there are freed people there, and people who were maybe not masters because they're poor, but were never enslaved, and they're all here participating in this spectacle, because it's just a part of their culture. They literally just don't see anything wrong with it. This is just what we do here. And I really, really like that Daenerys has to sort of reckon with 2 of her closest companions also being like, I'm super excited to go to the death matches today. My guy is definitely going to be your guy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like she thinks that her influence is going to undo their culture somehow, you know, like maybe I'll be a softening influence, you know, and this is not how that works, lady. And you shouldn't want that. in a way. Like there's a part of me that gets it because like this just seems horrible to me, you know?
Sure, agreed.
But I also feel like don't like hope that people will just eventually stop being who they are. Well, you know, because of like where they come from, because that's part of your deal as a queen is that you have to learn to unite everybody no matter what their history is. You've got to learn how to bridge that, you know?
Right. And that's the trouble. Like when you go in, especially when we had conversations early on about sort of like the white savior complex that sort of burned in or baked into Daenerys' character, where she just sort of expects her presence to be enough to change like hearts and minds, you know, of a people. And while I agree that these fighting pits are gross, especially when you talk about the fact that you have people who are there against their will, you know, then you have volunteers, that becomes a different conversation. But there are also a lot of people who are slaves that are being forced to participate in this. And, you know, there's a very big part of me that is like, whether that's your culture or not, that's fucked up. That's no good, you know? And that type of cultural change, I would be like, yeah, you're going to want to fix that to fuck up. Like, let's clean this all up. But then there are so it becomes like a real balancing act, to your point about like bridging different cultures and different people and like bringing them together, is how do you balance, because you're coming in as an outside person into someone else's area because you have strength behind you that allows you to be positioned that way, right? So she comes in with the strength of her dragons and becomes queen, and then has to try to navigate what is acceptable and what is no longer going to be acceptable. And if you just put everything under the blanket of, well, that's their culture, so it's okay for it to continue. Like, I can't support that, you know, not in the fiction and not in real life. Like, just because something is culturally significant or culturally traditional does not make it inherently good or okay. And so she's like trying to balance this shit, and it's hard. It's hard to fucking do. And she learned that lesson, how hard it is, because, you know, people who probably think they're very good people, like, you never think that you're the bad guy, you know?
No.
These people sitting in the stands watching these fights, they don't think that they're the bad guy. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm at a show. This is what we do on Saturdays. You know, that doesn't make me the villain, but doesn't it?
A little bit.
A little bit,
but yeah,
right?
It is really interesting how little we ever really see ourselves as the villain. And we can even be like, I know that from the outside it looks like that, but I have my reasons. And it's just like,
listen, I mean, the shit that, you know, don't even get us started on like how just as individual American citizens, how, you know, like, I don't know how to break it to you guys, but like, we're the bad guys. Like, I don't know if y'all knew that. Yeah, we're the baddies. You know, and it becomes a fucked up thing because a lot of stuff is done in our name without necessarily our implicit approval, or you know, things are done with our money via our taxes, that they're not necessarily asking our permission to do these fucking things. But it's still our money that they're doing it with, you know? It's tough to be a human being, is basically what I'm saying. In summary, it's hard to be human.
It's hard to be human is a whole sermon. Oh my God. I know that you haven't seen all of Community, but I can't remember if you saw the bit where Troy, who is played by Childish Gambino, Donald Glover? It's Donald Glover, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is in a production of Fiddler on the Roof, but like a rap version.
That does not sound familiar, but it does sound awesome.
It's just a tiny like moment with him sort of dancing at the end of an episode wearing a gray beard and yarmulke and
Oh,
one of those sort
no.
of vests, and he's
Oh,
dancing
no.
and just saying, "It's hard to be Jewish. It's hard to be Jewish. It's hard to be Jewish in Russia, yo." And he just says that over and over as he dances faster and faster. So you're just being like, "It's hard to be human." I'm just like, "In Russia, yo," like adding that to the end of it. I'm like, nobody knows what you're talking about, Natasha. You can't just say that out loud. That's going to be really weird. No context. Somebody's not going to know what that is. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't feel like we need to talk about every fight and how it goes.
No,
just suffice to say, it's
gruesome.
grim.
Yeah.
There's a woman who nobody could find another woman to fight her, and so she has to fight a boar, and she goes down really badly.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like she's going to win because she's very good, and then Resnick is like, no, she's very quick. She'll dance with the boar, but you'll see, she's gonna be just fine.
But a boar is a boar,
right? Listen, and then there's the kid that we talked about that goes down. And she is just like outraged because she feels like, that wasn't part of our agreement. I said no children. And he's just like, no, he was 16. It's totally fine. And then I think the boar is the last straw for her. I think, because once he kills her, then it gets like really, really gross. Like it's fucking like, gouging.
It's taking her entrails out and stuff. Yeah.
And Daenerys is like, you know what? That's going to be enough for me. And she starts to take her veils off, and they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, taking off my floppy ears. And she just fucking says that shit out loud. And she asked Selmy, can you take me back to the garden, please? Basically, just like, fuck this. And Hizdar is like, what are you doing? We're just getting started. There's so much more fun to come. And
Hizdar, I'm going to need you to get the fuck up out of my face.
Listen.
I am so sick of this man, and she has like allowed him into her space. It's just unendingly irritating. He makes me very angry.
She says, Daenerys says, because Irri and Jiki are still fighting, and she's like, okay, one will die, and the other one will. She's one will die, or the other will, and one who lives will die some other day. This was a mistake. And fucking Belwas is like, I ate too many locusts. I need milk. Like, for no reason. Just in the middle. Just in the middle of this very dramatic moment she's having. She says, this is a mistake. And he's like, yeah, I ate too many locusts.
He's like, it was a mistake. Thank you for noticing. You think she's talking about him?
I fucking cracked up. I swear to God. And then, Hizdar's just like, well, you heard how everybody was cheering for you. You can't just throw it all away. And she says, they weren't cheering me. They were cheering my floppy ears again. She says that. And she asked her husband to take her away from this. And he says, no. He says, stay for a little while longer, at least for the folly and one last match. And then this is when a shadow comes across the whole place. And everybody, like the thousands of people that are there, the tens of thousands of people that are there, it gets quiet as fuck. Like a hush comes over the crowd. And you look up, and it's fucking Drogon. And he lands in the middle of the arena and starts like snacking on the boar and Barcina. And everybody is like, he's eating her. Oh my God. And like, everybody starts like now it's too much, right? Before
this is what always cracks me
up.
We had this girl out here fighting a boar, and that was fucking fun. Mm-hmm. But now a dragon came and started. They're both dead already. Mm-hmm, so, like, who cares? But no, apparently this is a fucking problem now.
This is too far. Now we've gone too far. Mm-hmm. We've lost the plot. And they are just like disgusted and outraged, but mostly what it is fear. They are fucking shook. That's what's happening here. And people start running, and a guy who is not identified it just says, they refer to him as the hero, actually runs out there to square up with Drogon.
Amazing.
For reasons. I guess it's amazing. I thought it was foolish.
They can be both. Los dos, as they say. Honestly, they often are, it seems like, as I learn life.
That's facts. But he does get like a spear or something into Drogon, and it says that Dany and Drogon screamed as one. And then she just, like, you don't even realize what's happening. She is fucking twisted away from Selmy's grip because he's trying to tell her to, like, look away, and she is running, and next thing you know, she is, like, down in the pit, and it's her and Drogon facing off. And this shit was like, okay. I knew he wasn't going to hurt her. Like, I knew that, but it was still so fucking tense. It was still just like, oh my God, what is going to happen? Oh my God. Oh, she's so close. His face is right in her face. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? Even though I know it's going to be fine.
He like almost bites her head off. It comes up within inches when he snaps his jaw shut.
Yes. Yeah. Like we
and
know.
Like the reason that Barristan tells her to look away is because they're trying to kill this dragon in front of her. One of the hero who dies did get his spear lodged in his shoulder blade.
Oh yeah, that's when they scream. Yeah, that's when they scream. When it says that Dany and Drogon screamed as one, it's because he manages to get that right into the base of his neck. So
that spear has melted because the dragon's blood is so hot.
Yes,
that's insane.
That's a phenomenal little detail to just throw out there, right? That's good stuff. That's real good stuff. But it's good. It's terrible, but it's good. So yeah, she ends up just like sort of screaming at Drogon, and he's looking at her like, "Do I know you?"
Very much.
And eventually she sort of gets him to submit to her. You know, it takes a few very tense moments. She's got a whip that she's picked up, and she's yelling at him no and whipping him, and he's backing away from her, and she says, "Get down." And he rears up at her as like almost like he is like, "Fuck you." But then his wings fold and he gives one last little "fuck you, ho." But he also then lays flat on his belly. And this is where we hear that the black blood was flowing from the wound where the spear had pierced him, smoking where it had dripped into the scorched sands. He is fire made flesh, she thought, and so am I. And then she hops on this motherfucker's back. Yes, it is. It was incredibly satisfying. It really was. And even though we don't get like, you know, we don't get like the crowd really reacting to all of this because it's not even really like about them in this moment. But I love imagining like all of those people watching what she just fucking did, which was go head to head, face to face, nose to fucking nose with a giant fucking dragon and got it to submit. And then she got on its back and began to fly away. I love the idea of that happening in front of all of those witnesses. You know? It really is. It really, really is. I feel bad for the people she left behind though. Like, you know, my girl, Miss Sandy and the two Dothraki women, like I'm concerned for their well-being, but this moment was badass.
I really love this as well because like what it feels like happened here is that she was so distressed that Drogon felt it. And it came as a result of her being upset enough that she has lost her cool and is starting to just be like, get me the fuck out of these ridiculous clothes. I'm out of here.
Yep.
And he was just like, oh, mom's upset. Hold on. And when she faces down with him, it's her having to finally face the way that she really feels about everything. And that she has made a wrong turn. And are you prepared to undo this? Because here's your shot.
Yeah.
The other thing that sort of, she's flying off, but her 2 dragons are still in that pyramid. Her other 2.
Right.
So what about them?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she's got to like immediately, like, I don't know where they go. I wish I could remember how it happened, but I feel like in my mind, after this happens and the tens of thousands of people witnessed it, nobody has got shit to say to her. So she can just go back to that pyramid and fucking flex on everybody. Like, who's going to check me?
Honestly.
Who's going to check me now? And she can go and fucking unleash her dragon. She can tell his daughter, you know what, this was all like, nah, I don't see it for you. You can get the fuck out. Like, I don't think that's where the story's going, but it could. I feel like what she just did was so baller that she could be like, all right, this is what we're doing now. Everything I said. The
question for me is like, she can flex on them when she's got Drogon, but if she goes into the building and is separated from him, I don't know if that still works.
She's
feel just alone
like,
as,
and the thing about that is, what I love about that point is that I think it ties in with, even though I don't know if people watching would make the connection, but I really do agree with you that Drogon kind of shows up in response to the deep distress that she is in. I don't know if
so
people
you're thinking they wouldn't want to upset her because they'd be like, Drogon's just going to break in here if he. I feel
like they know that she might be in the pyramid and he's outside, but that motherfucker is right outside, and all she has to do is call for him, or but that's a real leap, because I don't know if anybody other than the 2 people that are right next to her when she's like saying she's ready to go, like the thousands of people watching are not going to have any idea that she was in that much distress, so they're not going to really make the connection that, oh, he came as a result of how she was feeling. But but I think that those closest to her might be like, oh shit, did he show up? Because that's interesting timing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, otherwise we're just going to pretend that this was a giant coincidence that he just showed up after having been not seen for what I'm thinking has been months now at this point, where he has been. I think you're right. Win, right?
Maybe longer, even. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But yeah, the last of them seeing of her is her flying away on him has got to be like, it's got to change everything that you think about how you move with her. You know what I mean? Like, you just, it feels like it would be bonkers and unrealistic to think that I'm going to talk to you this afternoon the way I talked to you this morning, because there has been a seismic shift. You know what I mean?
Yes, I see that. Do you think that the fact that they scream together when he's stabbed, do you think she's screaming just because he's been stabbed and she can see that, or does she feel that?
It feels to me like she feels it, because it's like the way they scream as one, like the connection between them is, because I do believe that she does have an actual like sort of metaphysical or psychic or supernatural whatever connection, and I think it was a pain that she felt, even if it was that what do you call it, that phantom pain or whatever,
Yeah.
But
so psychosomatic, is that, or symptom? I feel like it's
psychosomatic is kind of when you
imagine it, right?
When you imagine it, or when you think it so much that you actually kind of create the symptom itself. Like the symptom is actually you're experiencing it, but you're not experiencing it from like I'll just say injury for this example. And then phantom is like when you have a pain and something that, like if you like lose an arm or a leg or something and you still feel pain in that appendage that you don't have anymore. That's when they call it like a phantom pain. I think guys, that's how that works. We don't have a producer yet, so nobody can tell me in real time.
Also, the question for me is, I wanted to also mention from Austin's notes here, differences between this and the show. In the show, the Harpies show up and try to kill Dany in her court. Before Drogon shows up, then sets them on fire.
Right. That's right. So the show made it very clear that he was coming to protect her, where this is a very much more subtle kind of reading of it. Okay.
I really prefer this because, like, the Harpy's trying to kill her. It's just forcing her into a position where she has to defend herself. She is currently in a position where she isn't under threat and is still so upset that she draws him, it feels like, due to her realizing that she fucked up. And I feel like that's more powerful and gives her more agency than just being chased off by bad guys.
Yeah, I agree. I like this version a lot better. I had forgotten about that fucking sound effect too. That whatever you call that. Oh my god.
With their fucking masks.
Yes. Jesus Christ, I forgot all about that.
It was so goofy.
And it's so funny too. It's such a different tone because everybody here is apparently, or at least on the face, loving her because she's done this thing, you know, and that we have the Harpies are, I think there's even a line about the Harpies not being a threat anymore in this chapter. Somebody even says that. I think it might be when
his says that.
Yeah, when Somi is worried about her safety or something, and then he says something like the Harpies are not a problem anymore. But this was enjoyable. I had made several jokes about her flying off on her dragon on the show and how ridiculous that was. This was much more enjoyable, this version of it. And I think that it's partly because we spent, even though it was a slog, we spent so much more time with Daenerys in this like situation, in this unwinnable situation that she put herself in. So the payoff of this, you know, hits harder than it did for me on the show. And we don't have Jorah standing there watching her fly away, to our knowledge, at least. He's probably in the pit, staring outside, you know, watching it. But yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed that chapter.
Yay! All right, so now we go on to somebody who it feels like would like to fly away, but can't. Jon is talking to Tormund's Giantsbane. Yay, Tormund's back! Yay! He was found by Val. And the chapter begins with them talking over a deal about the wildlings and how they're going to make this work and keep everybody happy. Long story short, they will not keep everybody happy.
Nobody's going to be happy.
I really love how Tormund is described. This is so good, you guys. I love him so much. He roared, he shouted, he slammed his fist against the table so hard that a flagon of water overturned and spilled. A horn of mead was never far from his hand, so the spittle he sprayed when making threats was sweet with honey. I love it so much. He's swearing at him, but they're actually sweet. Like, this is just, it's the symbolism. He called Jon Snow a craven, a liar, a turncloak, cursed him for a black-hearted buggering kneeler, a robber, and a carrion crow, accused him of wanting to fuck the free folk up the arse. Twice he flung his drinking horn at Jon's head, though only after he had emptied it. Tormund was not the sort of man to waste good meat. Jon let it all wash over him. He never raised his own voice, nor answered threat with threat, but neither did he give more ground than he had come prepared to give. And earlier, Mance Rayder had named him Tormund Hornblower for the power of his lungs and was wont to say Tormund could laugh the snow off mountaintops.
I love that. I love that so
much. Can I please just marry
line.
Tormund?
Yeah, I really, really love that line. Tormund also, for me, I mean, he's great in the books, but like the character, when I read him, I can't help but think of the actor and the show and how delightful he was in literally every scene he was in. He stole every scene he was in. That man should be a star. I don't know what he's doing now, but he should be a star. He's so charismatic and just like fills the screen every time he was on it. And I just am sad that I don't see him everywhere. Or maybe I'm just not looking in the right places, because he should be fucking huge right now. He should be doing everything, all the things.
Yeah, I hard agree. I was so sure that we would start seeing him everywhere. And I was startled at the fact that we didn't, not only that we didn't, but that the couple places I did see him, they had him like shave his whole beard off and everything. And I'm like, what?
Why would you do that?
You know?
Oh,
I do remember being startled at like the sharpness of his chin when he has his beard shaved. It's practically like he's still got a beard but made of face because he has such a jawline on him. It's bananas.
That's funny.
Christopher Hivju, I think is how you say. I'm gonna go look at his IMDb and just see what we've got going on for him because I'm sure there's stuff I haven't heard he's in. Cocaine Bear. Oh my God, he was in Cocaine Bear. I didn't
see that.
After Earth. God, that was all the way back in 2013 though. There's like very little recently. He was in The Witcher, but he was like one episode. I remember that one. And that one he was shaved. And he was also kind of a piece of shit. Scott for Scots, and I don't know what that is. There's no like poster for it. And it looks like there's 5 of them. And it just says video. It doesn't say like TV show or movie. It just says video, which I don't know what that even means. And then there was a TV series called Beck. And he's in 13 episodes of that.
That sounds...
from 2016 to 2023, evidently. I've never heard of Beck.
No. For a second, I thought I recognized it, but no, I don't.
Ooh, there's a TV series called The Gentleman, and he's in one episode of that. But I've got to admit, I just clicked on it, and the image is of a man in a chicken suit, it looks like, holding a machine gun.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm not sure about this.
Oh, no.
So, who can tell? Anyway, sorry guys to go off on this, but you know, we always, if we're going to talk about Tormund, I'm going to veer off for a minute because I just am in love with him.
Yeah.
So eventually they come to a point where they have reached an agreement. They're both unhappy, which Jon says is a sign that things are good. Some of my own will spit me when they hear these terms. Your crows will grumble too if I know them, and I ought to. I've killed more of you black buggers than I can count. It might be best if you did not mention that so loudly when you come south of the wall. Ha! Tormund laughed. That had not changed either. He still laughed easily and often. Wise words. I'd not want you crows to peck me to death. I love that he's just like, yeah, you peckers. You bunch of peckers.
He says to Jon, he's like, when this is all over, you know, we're going to have a little bit of meat and some meat, and we're going to like just talk it all out. It's going to be fine. It's his whole like this like being enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still being able to, I don't know how to describe it. Like they are not supposed to be able to come to any kind of agreement. Right. They're supposed to be like on opposite sides and never able to meet in the middle. And yet somehow they managed to do so. And the fact that it's not personal for Tormund. He's just, you know what I mean? It's not like a personal beef. It's like I was on this side and you were on that side and we just did what we did. But it's not necessarily about me and you as people. Like he just is not. What is the opposite of being petty? Is there a word?
That's a good question. I'm gonna search this real quick. Opposite of petty, noble,
magnanimous. I mean something that's like
I'm getting tolerant, open, receptive, objective, impartial, unprejudiced, unbiased, liberal.
He is
none of those feel right.
No, I want like a word that I'm gonna like butcher, but like he's just so like big and gracious, you know. Like there's gracious. Just like and I mean that in the sense of like there's just no like smallness about him and like literally and figuratively.
True. He would be like, you're damn right there's not. And then he'd wink at you.
Absolutely. He does make a dick joke in this chapter too, by the way. Let's not forget.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, I do. I really appreciate that about him. And even to the point where there's a moment where he's talking about the death of his sons, and one of whom was killed in the battle at the wall, and another one who just froze to death overnight. And he gets so choked up about it. But he doesn't hold Jon personally responsible for the death of his son at that battle. Even though Tormund is like, I can still see the man who did it. It was one of your king's knights who did it for him. But it's not like blaming Jon for the death of his son, which he could. He'd be well within his rights to do so.
Yeah, he could.
But yeah, and then Jon offers him such a sincere condolences on his losses, and Tormund says, "Why? It wasn't your doing. There's blood on your hands, the same as mine, but not his." And that might be in reference specifically to the kid who died and rose, right? Because the one who froze actually comes back to life, and Tormund had to kill him himself. And that's the one where Jon
says
just
that was hard, Jon. Oh,
yeah, funny. right. Yeah, and the fact
that was rough.
The fact that he calls him Jon too in this moment, and not like a funny nickname or Crow or anything like that, but it just says his name. That's so fucking real. I'm
looking at other opposite of petty, and there's two versions of opposite of spiteful or opposite of not open to the opinions or views of others. And I think opposite of spiteful is probably more what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Charitable, benevolent, magnanimous, generous, kind, selfish.
Those are the words I was tripping over. I was trying to say magnanimous, and I went for benevolent as well. But benevolent. Benevolent. Oh,
benevolent.
It's so bad. It's not even that hard to say. I get on this fucking mic and lose all sense of how words work, y'all. I promise I don't have this problem in real life. It's just on the podcast.
I love that one of them is great-hearted, and that's just fucking Tormund right there. Great-hearted, just.
Oh, that's probably one of his nicknames that Mance gave him. It just got left off the list because the list was too long.
All right. So they have their talk, and the dick joke. He gives over his gold armbands to Jon, who's like, man, they're going to just melt these down. Maybe you just want to keep these. And he's like, no. If my people are going to be forced to give up their shit, I'm not going to keep mine. That's not going to look good. So take it and just shush about it.
Yeah.
And
that's part of the deal.
Then he says, it's fine though, because I'm not giving you the one around my member, and it's a lot bigger than those.
God. He cannot help himself. And we love him for it. We love him for it.
Absolutely.
We really do.
Absolutely.
That is why he is a forever fave. But yeah, that's part of the deal of letting them pass, is they're going to surrender anything they have of value that Jon can turn for a buck. That sounds like shitty, but when I say turn for a buck, but Jon needs money. This is a way to get it. He needs to raise some cash.
I'm really curious, jumping ahead a little bit here, but later on when they're demanding how they're going to feed everybody, and he says, we're going to bring food in, and they're like, how do we pay for that? He doesn't want to tell them that he took out this loan. And I'm not really sure why not. If there's a real reason that he wasn't supposed to, that this isn't allowed. He just tells them, oh, it's going to be selling the stuff. And everybody's like, the wildlings have nothing. There's no way that's going to pay for everything. And it bothers me a little that he doesn't explain, because I feel like their lack of faith in him is sometimes because he doesn't share.
We talked about this a little bit, about whether or not it was okay for him to go into this deal with the bank, because and the best we came up with, if I remember correctly, was just that it had never really been done before, but there wasn't any rule that said it couldn't be done. But it's a real break in tradition, for lack of a better word, And I think for Jon, I agree with you that like sometimes withholding information is doing him a disservice. But I wonder if he is concerned that like, because Jon is out here wheeling and dealing like a motherfucker.
He is, though.
It almost feels like he's afraid of letting them know that he's made yet another deal with outsiders, you know? Mm-hmm. Especially because the men at the wall, especially the ones that are giving him the most grief, despite the fact that they're at the wall, a lot of them for reasons of being like banished and not having better options or being criminals, they are pretty fucking high and mighty, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty fucking judgmental and definitely xenophobic, especially when it relates to like the wildlings. But I feel like that probably extends to people from all other parts of the world as well. And Jon is out here making deals with another foreign power when he's supposed to be, you know, only concerned about the men at the watch. And they are so short-sighted, they don't see that the things that Jon is doing are like in service of protecting not just the men at the wall, but in protecting the realm itself. I think he kept it to himself because he just couldn't bear having them be like, oh, there's another fucking deal you made with some fucking people from across the sea. Like, you'll just sit down and make a deal with anybody, won't you? You know? And it does kind of look like, and it does kind of seem like he will, but always for like the better, like the bigger, you know, for the
greater good.
Thank you.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for, girl. I get it.
Just a quick aside. I just have to, you know, it has been a lot, low these many months. Your girl's brain, it is barely holding on. It's the words are not wording, the math is no longer mathing, the sleep is not sleeping. It is just a fucking you know, like in old cartoons when you get up to run and then you like your legs are spinning in the air for a few seconds before you actually like move. You know, like old Bugs Bunny cartoons, Scooby-Doo does it all the time. Like, that's the only action happening in my brain. That's it. Just some leg spinning, trying to like get to the next place, but not really going anywhere. Like it's like, I know like the joke is always like having like a hamster wheel in your head instead of like a brain, but I don't even have the wheel. I just have the leg spinning in the air.
You got the hamster just running in circles. Where's my wheel?
There's
supposed to be a wheel in here. I was told there'd be a wheel.
Somebody get OSHA on the line. Where's my wheel? It's so bad. So, all of that to say that I can even string a half a sentence together is really a miracle. And, you know, that's as good as we're going to get for right now.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to fill in those blanks.
I appreciate you.
Or sing some song lyrics that are ultimately relevant. Either way.
Either way, you're here for me.
I'm here for you. Oh my God. I forgot about when he mentions his daughter and her husband, and he says the boy's got more cock than sense. Which is just fucking poetry to me. Oh, I love it so much. More cock than sense, if you ask me. We didn't, but I wish we had. So Jon goes out. I think Tormund takes off here, and he meets with Val. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. He's like very admiring of Val in a way that he hadn't been before.
Yeah, yeah.
It had been a long while since Jon Snow had seen a sight so lovely. Mm. And even his wolf, when Ghost stands next to her, he's like, God, they really do look like they belong together. And I was like, ooh, do they now? Have you been trying to steal my wolf? He asked her. Why not? If every woman had a dire wolf, men would be much sweeter, even crows. And I was like, or bears. You know, way.
Oh, no, she didn't. I love that Tormund is still here for this, and he laughs so hard when she says that. And he tells Jon, you don't want to be going back and forth with this one. She's fucking too smart for you.
Yeah. Best steal her quick before Toreg wakes up and takes her first. What had that oaf Axel Florence said of Val? A nubile girl, not hard to look upon, good hips, good breasts, well made for whelping children. All true enough, but the wildling woman was so much more. She had proved that by finding Tormund when seasoned rangers of the Watch had failed. She may not be a princess, but she would make a worthy wife for any lord.
Yeah.
Oh, Jon.
Jon is maybe feeling some things in his nethers. I'm sorry.
And she even says you know nothing in this section, and I was like, what's up with this?
Yep, I thought that we were going to come back to that or have some kind of conversation or have Jon have some kind of internal monologue about it, but we really don't.
Yeah, I was surprised.
She just drops that shit and keeps it moving. I love she's just like, so yeah, that thing you needed me to do, I did it. So what's going to happen to me now? You just put me back in my old fucking cell? And he has to be like, well, first of all, that shit is occupied now. Somebody else is living there. So you're gonna have to go to another tower. And she's like, the one that looks like it's about to collapse. That's the fucking thanks I get. And
she's not wrong.
Right. And she also says, I would choose freedom over comfort every time. And I mean, cause she's calling him out. And he can't free her. He says, you'll have freedom of the castle, but you have to be a captive. I can promise you you won't be troubled by any unwanted visitors, but you have to stay, and you have to stay as my captive. And he tells her that in the tower where she's going to be, he's going to have his own guards there, and that also one sleeps there. And she's like, a giant is a protector. Shit, even Dalla didn't have that shit. Like,
I did love that.
And I liked it.
Yeah, very, very much like, all right, you know what? I'm kind of feeling that. I like it.
I liked it. Like, in my imagination, she says it, and it's like half like a joke. Like, oh, this is like, you're really trying to like sell me on something, and it's not even like that, Ooh, a giant, you say. But also, look, you know what I mean? But also, Loki, like, oh shit, a giant?
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I have grown to like Val a lot as well. It's not just you, Jon. She's cool and competent. Always admire the competence.
Yeah. There's, I can't recall how much of this, or if any of this plot with Val made it to the show. I don't recall hardly any of this being part of the deal.
Yeah, same.
Which is a real shame because she has really proved to be delightful. And like you said, competent, which is always like a plus. This next bit I was shocked by, where he takes her to see Talise. Oh, sorry.
Hold on one second. I just want to point out, though, that when Tormund is like, you should take her before somebody else does, she says, oh, he's welcome to try, and it'll be a lot easier for him to keep his vows after he's been gelded. So whether or not Jon's into her, I don't feel like she's into Jon. So, what can you do? But I just wanted to mention, because we've been talking very much about whether he's interested, but we haven't even mentioned that she is at all. So
good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because her opinion matters in this conversation.
But okay, yes, bringing her to Talise, and you said you were surprised by this.
Yeah, because Jon is like, you're going to have to like kneel if you come with me. Like, that's just going to be part of the deal. And I expected her to be like, you know what? I'll just go to my room then instead. But she agrees to go. And she says when he tells her you have to kneel, she goes, well, can I laugh while I do it? And he's just like,
oh my God.
No, you can't. This is not a fucking game.
Yeah, he gets like severe with her, and she actually senses that he's like not trying to play about this and calms down. But the fact that she even asked that, I did think was just wonderful. Yeah,
she promises. She says, you have my word, Lord Snow. I will be a proper wildling princess for your queen. And Jon thinks she is not even my queen. Like, for real talk between, like, thinking to himself, real talk, I can't wait till she gets the fuck out of here. And if I'm really lucky, she'll take Melisandre with her. Like, I'm ready for these people to be gone.
He was real, like, I thought that she was all eager to get to her next location, and now she's still hanging out here. Can she please leave? That would be great. I was taking her at her word that she just was ready to bounce, but evidently...
Listen, I 100% get it, because I know that she is insufferable, and just her being there has got to be such a fucking drag. Like,
gotta be.
And her men that she brought with her, all her little knights and shit. I know Jon is so over all of these assholes. He can't wait for them to leave.
Yep. Agree. So they go and see Selyse, and the whole, oh my God. I've heard your queen has a great dark beard. Only a mustache. Very wispy. How disappointing. And later on, she's like, you're a fucking liar. She has more hair on her face than I have between my legs. And I was like, whoa! Anyway, so he presents...
I'm sorry, but I was just so surprised by that. It really got to me. It really did. I'm sorry.
So he presents Val to Selyse, and she's like, her sister Dalla was mother to that squalling babe who keeps us awake at night. I know who she is, Lord Snow. Selyse. Christ's sake. And she's like, I want a baby so bad. Shut it up. Shut that fucking baby up. What are you?
Yeah. Again, insufferable. And then, the reaction that Val has when she sees Shireen, though.
Yeah. This is
interesting. She is not with this at all. This child is death. You need to get my baby away from this little girl, first of all. Like, the monster cannot be anywhere near this. This is death, and it's, she's already dead. And Jon is trying to convince her that, like, not children, will often survive grayscale and live, like, full lives. And she's like, no, it comes back. It lies dormant, but it comes back, which I don't think I've heard anyone say that before. I mean, it's possible I missed it. I mean,
I don't think anybody has said it. No.
Okay, right. This idea that, like, you can catch it, it can go dormant, and then it can, reactivate.
But Selyse, not Selyse. What's her daughter's name?
Shireen. Thank
you. Shireen is the only person we have ever heard of who's, like, still alive and only has scars. Like, everybody else, it is just slowly eating away at them over time and getting worse. And she's the only one that it seems to have stopped.
Right. But she's the only child that we've met that had it, though, right? That's still alive.
Met, yes.
Like, right. So because Jon is just like, he says the thing about how it often, children survive. He says that, like, it's, like, well known that everybody knows that. But Val remained unconvinced. Really not here for it. There's a whole back and forth Jon has with his main men, but it's the same back and forth that he's had with these guys over every single thing in every fucking chapter, that it doesn't really, I don't know if we really need to go into each detail with each guy and each fucking.
Well, and we did kind of skip over Selyse because she's demanding that the wildlings all like take vows to Stannis as their king and take R'hllor as their god.
Oh yeah.
And Jon is like, here we go, because he knew she was going to say this, and that's not part of the deal that he made.
He has to tell her, and she gets mad as fuck. She's like, well, you're going to have to answer to Stannis when he finds out, and he's not going to be happy.
The free folk do not kneel, then they must be knelt. Do that, your grace, and we will rise again at the first chance, with blades in hand. The queen's lips tightened, and her chin gave a small quiver. You are insolent. I suppose that is only to be expected of a wildling. We must find a husband who can teach you courtesy. I do not approve, Lord Commander, nor will my lord husband. I cannot prevent you from opening your gate, as we both know full well, but I promise you that you shall answer for it when the king returns from battle. Mayhaps you might want to reconsider. Your grace. Jon knelt again. This time, Val did not join him. Yeah.
I love that
so,
she does it the second time. Yeah. She has got in. She's met this queen. She's met this little girl, and she is not interested and impressed with either. And then, they leave. And I think after they leave is when he runs into his men and has to explain to them, like you said earlier, about how we're going to feed them. And he tells them about, like, he's going to take all of their valuables. And the men are just like, well, that's not going to add up to shit.
yeah.
And the thing about the Iron Bank and him opting not to tell the truth about that. And then he does have a thing with Marsh and this conversation about the Weeper.
Yeah.
And
the deal with the Weeper is like, because Jon says we can't pick and choose who we let across. And I just kind of want to be like, why not? The Weeper sounds like a straight up monster.
Sounds
I don't know, man.
That maybe shouldn't come, right?
Yeah. I just think that maybe picking and choosing is your prerogative, the position that you're in. Maybe you can. And accepting somebody over who has like done something pretty horrific to a man who is still alive and in charge, the way that it went down, I don't know if that's a good idea.
The best Jon can do is, he's going to promise to work with us. The same as Tormund has given his oath. And once we do that, we're going to let him pass. And everybody is just like, his word means fucking nothing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then Leathers pipes up and is like, because they're talking about the Weeper who is terrible and whose word is worthless. And that feels like legit. And then somebody has to go and generalize the entire free folk as savages because, that's how that shit works. And Leathers is like, hold up. Remember that big ass fight we had? I was on the other side and now I wear your fucking colors and work with you.
Yeah.
And train your boys to kill. Some might call me a turncloak and it might be that I am, but I am no more savage than you crows. And we have the same gods too. The same gods they keep in Winterfell. And I was like, you go ahead and talk your shit.
Yes. Agree. Yeah, I was really glad to have this, like, because, it's just the same old argument again, like you said. And at one point, I think Marsh is the one who says, this is fucking treason. Do you get this? And Jon is like, is it? Because I don't remember words where we were like, oh, and you're going to uphold the king's orders and you're going to, like, he said, here it is. Now you mean to let them pass, shelter in our castles, feed and clothe them, teach them how to fight. Lord Snow, must I remind you, you swore an oath. I know what I swore. Jon said the words. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the fire that burns against the cold, the light that brings the dawn, the horn that wakes the sleepers, the shield that guards the realms of men. Were those the same words you said when you took your vows? They were, as the Lord Commander knows. Are you certain I have not forgotten some? The ones about the king and his laws and how we must defend every foot of his land and cling to each ruined castle? How does that part go? Jon waited for an answer. None came. I am the shield that guards the realms of men. Those are the words. So tell me, my lord, what are these wildlings if not men? Bowen Marsh opened his mouth. No words came out. A flush crept up his neck. Jon
I know that's
Snow
right.
turned away.
Right.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah, very satisfying.
I know it's not solving the problem, but it felt good.
It's nice. It felt real good for him to just shut that shit down, right?
It did.
But I know that this is all leading up to like the thing that's going to happen. Like these men have lost faith in Jon. They think everything that he does is wrong. They don't understand his motivations, even though he's been even if he doesn't explicitly explain every step in his plan. His motivations have always, I think, been very clear about what his big picture is and what he's trying to accomplish, what his priorities are, what the war that he is preparing to fight is. And these motherfuckers are just being really, really dense, in my opinion. Like they refuse to understand what he's doing and see what he is saying. And I could not for the life of me figure out why, except a big mixture of like classism and because he's a bastard, ageism because he's so young, the xenophobia and bigotry that we've already talked about because he's making these alliances with wildlings and they are less than human, they are savage, they are not men. All of these different things are mixing together to foster this deep, deep resentment and mistrust of Jon. Also, Jon's history of having, been undercover with the wildlings earlier. He's never really been able to shake that traitor sort of accusation, that turncloak accusation. And it is just all about to bubble over the surface. And I know that these motherfuckers are about to stab him to death any minute now. That shit is on his way.
Oh man, it's just so frustrating because I don't like a previous conversation where Jon just got really angry. I feel like they don't have a good answer for him, but he said, do you get that all these people, if we leave them on the other side, are going to die and rise up? And they don't contradict him. But they just don't seem to fucking worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand because these are not people in King's Landing that haven't seen walkers and whites. These people have. So how are we still pretending like this is not the number one problem of our day? That is the part that doesn't make sense to me in the writing. Is I'm having a hard time getting why these people are so oppositional and so defiant. So I guess it just has to be a mixture of all these other things, and it's really personal. It's about Jon. It's that thing where how like somebody can say something that's true, but because you don't fuck with them, you're just like, nah, fuck that. Because I don't fuck with you, even though what they said is 100% factual. You're just like, nah, fuck that.
I really do think it's like that simple. That he has brought in people that they have seen as the enemy for so long that they can't see anybody else as more of an enemy. It's just too ingrained and they just can't fucking like overcome this innate, But God, it's so fucking annoying. Get it together, you guys. Jesus Christ.
And the thing that continues to boggle the mind for me is that even in this chapter, Jon has to remind these people, look, it doesn't matter what you were before you said the words, right? Like there's all kinds of like terrible, like there's a chapter or two ago where Jon is like, what about the fucking rapist guy who, marks his body or whatever the notches are, like for everyone he's raped, like y'all accept him just fine. Like they are really high and mighty for a bunch of people that are like just recently, not even reformed criminals, but like, degenerates and all kinds of other laws that they've broken that ended them up at the wall in the first place. They are just really a bit too high on their horses for my liking, considering their circumstances.
Fully agree. Yep, 100%. It's just so irritating to read. And especially because, just the chapter even ends with Jon, because he says, okay, you're going to go and save as many of the people that are ill as you can to Clytus. Othel, you go get a cart and wagon and bring people in. Bowen, you shall collect the tolls. Yes, Lord Snow, said Bowen Marsh. And Jon thought, ice, she said, and daggers in the dark, blood frozen red and hard, and naked steel. His sword hand flexed. The wind was rising.
Mm-hmm. One of them calls him
it does
Jon
feel like Jon's
face.
Yes. It does feel like Jon here is kind of like, yeah, they're not happy. This is going to be a thing.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a thing. I think it's Clytus that is like, I'll do my best, Jon. I mean, my lord. Yeah. I think Clytus is also the one that's drunk all the time too, though. So that might just be that.
Is it?
Because Clytus is his maester, right? And the
is
one that
it? Okay, that makes sense because he's being sent to care for the sick. So yeah. But again, like two really good chapters. And I like that we feel like it feels like we're getting some forward movement now, some momentum is starting to build. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, I can, sometimes the way the book ends, I can't see necessarily the next chapter. And then sometimes it's like right there and I see it. So I know what the next chapter is this week. And I have to say, surprise,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to say it out loud in case you guys, like, if you happen to be unspoiled reading along, I don't want to spoil you for what next week's chapter is, but I am excited. I wonder if there's anybody unspoiled reading with us.
I don't think so.
I don't think so
you
either.
Probably could just say, but
it's a Cersei chapter, y'all.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
Had forgotten that she gets like interspersed in this book too. It's such a weird thing that he did, guys. It makes it all the more frustrating for me that he decided to break things up by POV when he didn't do that entirely. You could have just then not done it, man, and just okay, whatever.
Listen. We're not gonna go down that road. We're gonna wrap this up. We're not gonna do that.
You are correct. But yeah, I am personally really, really excited about just the fact that we got to check in with Jaime as well. Now a Cersei. It's just a good time, man. These little treats after putting yourself through some rough stuff. Sometimes we just need a little treat.
A little treat, a little something, a little. How do you do?
Little crazy queen as a treat.
And I figure, let's
queen in her jail cell,
right? Because she's definitely going to be hemmed up and not doing great, and probably I don't know how far along we are in her detention, but yeah, it's not going to be good. I wonder if it'll be like the torture chapters or if it'll be like more towards the beginning of her incarceration. I'm very curious where we are timeline wise for what we're going to get. But I'm here for it. I'm excited. So yeah, looking forward to next week's chapter. I don't know what the one after that one is. So that one is still a surprise for me. I won't know until I'm reading what the second chapter is.
All right, really quickly, I want to say hi to our new patrons. Yay! All right, so... Ooh, I didn't press it twice. Why'd you do that? Damn it. So we have got Mirto, Kate, and JM who have joined up as patrons. Thank you both. Thank you all three so much. And I really hope that you guys are enjoying all the content and all the stuff that you get as a patron. There's such a big back catalog of fun things to listen to. So check that out. And also, I want to mention that I am doing a fundraiser for the Trevor Project. And I am, it's on Facebook. I posted about it on the Patreon page, and I'm going to try and post about once a week just to remind folks about it. But the Trevor Project is a charity that is devoted towards the mental health of queer youth and suicide prevention and just giving them a safe place to be. And they have a messaging system that is set up to like not be saved in cookies and not there. It's just like basically a Snapchat for queer youth where everything gets erased and there's no way for parents, if they share a computer, to find it afterward, so that people can safely go and talk about what's going on with them and they won't be traced. And I just think it's really important for these kinds of safe spaces to exist, because parents are up in kids' business in a way that is very damaging sometimes. You know? So it's just something that means a lot to me, having so many queer and trans friends and seeing, you know, the difficulty for some of them in just living their fucking lives in a way that's very ordinary, but made extremely difficult for no good reason. And if you are interested in donating and helping me reach my goal of $500, which I'm trying to reach, I'm doing the Mutt Strut. So I'm doing it, taking walks with Pippin throughout the month of May. Go to my Facebook. I'm going to post about it frequently on there. And like I said, also weekly on the Patreon page. So you can find it there as well. And I posted in the Filthy Casual chat on the Discord also. So, yeah, please go support this. It's just such a worthy cause. And it felt for me like I could donate, but I also wanted to do even more than that. And I know that I have a network of cool, generous people that I can reach out to. And I just felt like I wanted to utilize that for this. So I've just been in this mood lately, guys, where I want to be doing something that it feels positive, because it has been bleak and I feel a little helpless. And so doing something feels helpful to that sort of sensation of just despair. So if you would also like to participate in the Mutt Strut yourself, I don't even think it's too late. And the Trevor Project fundraisers is its own page, and they have it set up so that you can participate without ever talking to a person. It's all set up automatically through Facebook, and it's really, really easy. So if you would also like to do one, do that and get your friends and associates and family involved. I think that's everything. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, ma'am. Just always thanking everybody in the community for supporting us and listening to the show and joining the Patreon. And love you guys. And I'm really looking forward to next week's chapters.
Yay, me too. All right, everybody. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Mereen, Jon, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.